Hey everyone, and welcome back to CoinCarfs, the channel where we dig into the stories and values hidden in your pocket change. Today, we're tackling a coin that every single American has held at some point, the humble Jefferson nickel. Specifically, the 1972 Jefferson nickel. It's not ancient history. It's not a rare silver piece. Millions upon millions were made. So, the million-dollar question, or, more accurately, the 5-cent question, is your 1972 nickel worth more than its face value? Could it be sitting in a jar right now, waiting to be discovered? Let's find out. First, we need to set the stage. To understand the 1972 nickel, we have to go back to where it all began. The Jefferson nickel was first minted in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel. The design by Felix Schlag featured a left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse, and his iconic Virginia home, Monticello, on the reverse. This basic design remained unchanged for decades. And that's a key point for our 1972 friend. By 1972, the nickel was made of a solid copper-nickel clad composition, 75% copper and 25% nickel. No silver here, unlike the famous war nickels of 1942 to 1945. So, its intrinsic metal value is, well, about 5 cents. Oh, if the metal isn't valuable, what could possibly make this coin special? The answer, as always in coin collecting, lies in the details: condition, mint marks, and errors. The Philadelphia Mint produced the majority of nickels that year, and these coins have no mint mark. The Denver Mint, with its D mint mark, also produced a huge number. And finally, the San Francisco Mint, with its S mint mark, produced proof coins exclusively for collectors. And this is our first major point. The 1972 S is not a circulation strike coin. It was sold in proof sets directly to collectors. So, if you find a 1972 S nickel in your change, someone very carefully took it out of its original protective case. It was never meant to be in circulation. Now, let's get to the numbers and the values you've been waiting for. We're focusing on circulated value today, coins that have been in pockets, purses, and vending machines for over 50 years. The Philadelphia Mint struck over 200 million of these. They are absolutely everywhere. In a typical circulated condition, what we call good to very good, where the details are worn but clear, this coin is worth exactly 5 cents. It's a face value coin. If it's in extremely fine condition with only slight wear on the highest points, it might fetch a quarter or 50 cents to a collector who needs a nice example for a date set. But for the most part, these are spenders. Denver struck even more, over 300 million coins. It's actually the most common variety of the year. The story here is identical to the Philadelphia issue. In circulated condition, it's worth 5 cents. Its value is purely nominal unless it's in a pristine, uncirculated state, which we'll cover in another video. Remember, this was never meant to circulate. So, if you find one in your change, it's called an impaired proof. It's lost its mirror-like finish, it has bag marks and scratches, but it's still a proof coin. Because of its origins, even a worn, circulated 1972 S-proof nickel can be worth $1 to $2. That's 20 to 40 times its face value. It's not life-changing money, but it's a fantastic find from the pocket change realm. But Mark, I hear you say, I've heard about rare nickels worth thousands. What about errors? I'm glad you asked. The real potential for a 1972 nickel to be valuable lies in mint errors. While there are no famous errors like the 1955 double die cent, there are still things to look for. The most common error for this era is a die crack or a cud. A cud is a raised, blob-like deformity on the coin's surface caused by a broken die. A significant cud error on a 1972 nickel, depending on its size and location, could be worth $10 to $50 plus even in circulated condition. You should also look for off-center strikes, where the coin isn't struck perfectly in the collar. The more off-center it is, the more valuable. A 5% off-center strike might be worth $10, while a 50% off-center could be worth over $100. And finally, the holy grail for this year would be a 1972 double die obverse. There are minor double die varieties known, mostly showing doubling on the motto, "In God We Trust." A circulated example of a confirmed DDO could be worth $50 to several $100, depending on the strength of the doubling. Finding these requires a keen eye and sometimes a magnifying glass, but that's the thrill of the hunt. So, to summarize the circulated value of your 1972 Jefferson nickel, if it's AP or D mint mark and worn, it's worth 5 cents. If it's an S mint mark and worn, it's worth $1 or $2. If it has a major error like a big cud or is off-center, it could be worth $10 to $100 plus. The 1972 nickel teaches us a fantastic lesson in coin collecting. Common date coins are rarely valuable in circulated grades unless they have a special attribute, a rare mint mark meant for collectors, or a fascinating error that tells a story of a mistake at the mint. The 1977 Jefferson nickel. It's a coin that literally millions of Americans held in their hands. But what's the story behind it? Does it have any hidden value? And could you possibly have a rare error version sitting in a jar somewhere? We're going to cover all of that, so make sure you stick around until the end. To understand the 1977 nickel, we have to take a quick trip back in time. The Jefferson nickel was first introduced in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel. The design by Felix Schlag features a left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse, and his iconic Virginia home, Monticello, on the reverse. Now, fast forward to the 1970s. The U.S. was in a period of high inflation. The cost of metals was rising, and there was even talk of eliminating the nickel altogether or changing its composition. But in 1977, the mint was still churning out nickels in the classic composition we know, 75% copper and 25% nickel. In 1977, nickels were produced at two mints: the Philadelphia Mint, these have no mint mark; the Denver Mint, these have a small D mint mark to the right of Monticello. The San Francisco Mint was not producing circulation strike nickels this year, only proof coins for collector's sets, which we'll talk about later. Let's address the million-dollar question first. If you have a regular, worn, circulated 1977 nickel that you just pulled from your pocket change, what is it worth? The honest answer, for the vast majority of these coins, is 5 cents. I know, not the exciting treasure hunt reveal you were hoping for. But there's a reason for that. The U.S. Mint produced a staggering number of these coins. Let's look at the mintage figures. 1977 P. Philadelphia ** 585,376,000, over 585 million coins. 1977 D. Denver ** 297,313,422, just shy of 300 million coins. Combined, that's nearly 883 million nickels from 1977 alone. ***, because so many were made and so many have survived, they are exceptionally common. Even in uncirculated condition, a regular 1977 P or 1977 D nickel is only worth about 25 to 50 cents to a collector. So, if you were hoping your average 1977 nickel was going to pay for a new car, I'm sorry to disappoint. But don't click away. This is where it gets interesting. The value for collectors isn't in the common coins, it's in the condition and the errors. Like with all coins, condition is everything. The difference between a coin that's been in circulation for 40-plus years and one that was saved straight from the mint bank bag is massive. Heavily circulated coin, where Jefferson's cheek is worn smooth and the steps of Monticello are barely visible, is still just face value. The real value starts with mint state, MS, coins, those that never entered circulation. A gem-quality MS 65 1977 nickel might sell $4.05 to $10. A perfect MS 67 could bring $30 to $50 or more at auction. The price jumps significantly because finding a coin from this era that has absolutely no bag marks, scratches, or wear is very difficult. Remember I mentioned the San Francisco Mint? In 1977, they weren't making coins for circulation, but they were making coins for collectors. Proof coins. Proof coins are struck multiple times with specially polished dies on polished planchets. The result is a stunning, mirror-like background with frosted, detailed devices. They are beautiful. The 1977 S-proof nickel was only available as part of a government-issued proof set. Over 3.5 million sets were sold, so the nickel itself is not exceedingly rare. A typical 1977 S-proof nickel in its original packaging is worth about $2 to $4. However, if it's been taken out of the set and handled, the value drops. If it's a perfect PR 70 deep cameo, meaning it has black mirror fields and white frost on the design with zero flaws, it can be worth over $100. Always look for that contrast between the mirror and frost. Okay, this is it. The reason you should absolutely check every single 1977 nickel you find. While the regular issues are common, error coins are where you can find real, unexpected value. The most famous and valuable error for this year is the 1977 Jefferson nickel struck on a dime planchet. This is a monumental mint mistake. This nickel was struck on a blank piece of metal that was meant to be a dime. It will be smaller, lighter, and will have a reeded edge like a dime, but it will clearly show the Jefferson nickel design. These are incredibly rare. In uncirculated condition, one of these errors can sell $4,500 to over $1,000. Other errors to look for include where the coin isn't struck correctly in the collar. The value depends on how off-center it is, ranging from $10 to $100 plus. Where the die itself has a doubling effect, causing the lettering and date to appear doubled. These are less common for this year but are always sought after. Where a part of the coin metal is missing due to an error in the blanking process. If you think you have an error coin, your first step is to compare it to a known normal coin. Look for weight, size, and any obvious oddities. So, what should you do? If you find a 1977 nickel, don't just spend it without a look. Is it a D or no mint mark? Knowing which one you have is step 1. Is it worn, or does it look like it just came from the bank? Sharp details and full steps on Monticello are key. Weigh it. A normal nickel should weigh 5 grams. Look for anything unusual about its size, edge, or strike. If you think you have something special, don't clean it. Join a coin forum, go to a local coin shop, LCS, or consider getting it professionally graded by a service like PCGS or NGC. So, the 1977 Jefferson nickel, a fascinating piece of late 70s history that is overwhelmingly common in circulation, but one that holds exciting possibilities for those sharp-eyed collectors who can find a high-grade example or a spectacular mint error. It's a perfect example of how numismatics isn't always about the oldest coins. It's about the story, the scarcity, and the hunt.